Okay, so you want to own a construction crew, a truck full of workers pulling up to the job site. Everyone knows what to do, hammers swinging, walls going up, and you are collecting the check at the end while your crew does the heavy lifting. Sounds like the perfect business. And honestly, from the outside, it really does look that way. But here is what people who actually make a living running a crew know, and what nobody who has ever posted a picture of a finished deck on Instagram will ever tell you. A construction crew is not a team of skilled craftsmen who share your vision. It is a collection of hourly workers who will cost you between 30 and 60% more than their base wage by the time you account for insurance, taxes, and the inevitable problems they bring with them. And the construction industry has an annual turnover rate of 68%. That means if you hire 10 people this year, only 3 will still be with you next year. And the other 7 will leave you short-staffed on a project you already promised would be finished by Friday. Let us start with what a construction worker actually costs you. The average residential construction worker makes about $33 an hour in base pay. By March of 2025, that number had climbed to almost $39. That is what you pay them, but that is not what they cost you. The fully burdened cost of a construction worker, meaning everything you pay on top of their wage, is between 30 and 60% more than their hourly rate. Payroll taxes, workers' compensation insurance, general liability, unemployment insurance, health benefits if you offer them, retirement contributions, paid time off, safety training, and the administrative cost of processing payroll. That $33 an hour worker costs you between $43 and $53 an hour by the time you actually employ them. The total cost of hiring any employee is typically 1.25 to 1.4 times their base salary. And that is before they have picked up a single tool or driven a single nail. Workers' compensation insurance is the expense that surprises every new crew owner. Construction has one of the highest injury rates of any industry in America, and the insurance companies know it. Depending on the trade, workers' comp costs between $2.50 and $12 per $100 of payroll. For a framing crew, which involves working at height with power tools, the rate is at the high end. For every $1,000 you pay a framer, you owe up to $120 in workers' comp premium. That adds 10 to 12% to your labor cost before anything else, and the premium is adjusted every year based on your claims history. One serious injury on your crew and your rate doubles. One worker who files a claim for a bad back because they lifted a sheet of plywood wrong last year, and suddenly every worker on your payroll costs more. There are contractors who have been in business for 20 years who still dread the annual workers' comp audit, because one bad year can erase the profit from 5 good years. Here's the trap that destroys more construction crews than bad workmanship: the temptation to classify your workers as independent contractors. If your crew are 1099 contractors, you do not pay payroll taxes. You do not pay workers' comp. You do not pay unemployment insurance. You do not provide benefits. You just pay them their hourly rate, and they handle the rest. It sounds like the perfect loophole. It is also illegal. The IRS has specific rules for who qualifies as an independent contractor. If you tell them when to show up, what tools to use, how to do the work, and where to go next, they are employees. Period. And when the Department of Labor catches you misclassifying employees, the penalties stack up fast. Back taxes, fines, penalties, legal fees, and in some cases, personal liability for the business owner. The construction industry has one of the highest rates of misclassification in the country. It is also one of the most audited. The IRS knows exactly where to look. And they are not looking for the big companies, they are looking for the small crew owner who thought they found a shortcut. Now let us look at the gap between what you charge and what you actually keep. When you bill a client for a crew member, the typical residential rate is around $75 an hour. That sounds great until you break it down. The worker costs you between $43 and $53 an hour fully burdened. You have overhead to cover: the truck, the tools, the shop, the insurance, the office. That typically runs 15 to 25% of revenue. Then you have the non-billable hours, the time the crew spends driving to the job site, picking up materials, cleaning up, waiting for inspections, fixing mistakes. Those hours do not generate revenue. They still cost you the same hourly rate. After all of that, the markup that looks like a healthy margin on paper is barely enough to keep the business alive. A $30 gap between billing rate and cost shrinks to almost nothing once overhead and non-billable time are factored in. The crew owner who charges $75 an hour and thinks they are making $42 an hour in profit is going to have a very unpleasant discovery when they look at their bank account at the end of the year. The construction industry loses workers at a staggering rate. The average annual turnover rate across all positions in construction is 68%. For skilled trades, it is even higher at 73%. Compare that to the national average across all industries, which is about 12 to 15%. Construction loses workers more than 4 times faster than the average business, and every time a worker leaves, it costs you. You lose productivity while the position is open. You lose the training investment you made in that worker. You lose the institutional knowledge they took with them. You spend money recruiting, interviewing, and onboarding a replacement. And the replacement will probably not be as good as the person who left, which means more mistakes, more rework, and more unhappy clients. The Associated Builders and Contractors reported that the construction industry faced a shortage of over 500,000 skilled workers in 2024. The workers who are available know they are in demand. They will leave your crew for $1 more an hour down the street, and they will do it without notice. There is a specific type of construction worker that every crew owner has encountered. He shows up on Monday, works hard all week, gets paid on Friday, and then does not come back on Monday. You call him, he does not answer. You text him. He replies with something about a family emergency. He shows up again on Wednesday, works hard Thursday and Friday, and then disappears again the following Monday. You cannot fire him, because when he is there, he is your best worker, and you cannot rely on him because he is only there 60% of the time. This pattern is so common in construction that it has its own name: the no-show, the ghost, the Monday morning vanishing act. And it is not malicious. It is a combination of factors that are baked into the industry: physical exhaustion, unpredictable work schedules, the temptation of cash work on the side, substance abuse, and a culture where showing up is celebrated instead of expected. The crew owner who plans for every worker to be there every day is going to be disappointed on a regular basis. And disappointment in construction costs money. Here is the choice that every crew owner eventually faces. You started as a worker. You were good with a hammer. You knew how to frame a wall, hang drywall, lay tile. You decided to start your own crew. But now you are spending more time on the phone, more time bidding, more time dealing with clients, and less time actually building things. So you promote your best worker to foreman. You put him in charge, you pay him a little more, and suddenly your best worker is not working anymore. He is managing. And he is not good at it. He is good at building things. Managing people is a completely different skill set. Projects fall behind. Quality drops. The crew stops respecting him because he was their peer last week, and you have lost your best producer while gaining a mediocre manager. This is one of the most common mistakes in the construction industry. It is called the Peter Principle, and it applies to framing crews just as much as it applies to Fortune 500 companies. The worker who is promoted to foreman often fails, and the crew owner ends up doing both jobs. Every construction worker needs tools, and not the cheap ones from the hardware store. The ones that survive a full workday without breaking. A basic power tool set for a single worker: drill, impact driver, circular saw, sawzall, nail gun, grinder, runs between $2,000 and $5,000. A good work ladder costs $500 to $2,000. A set of scaffolding can run several thousand more. Safety equipment: hard hat, safety vest, gloves, safety glasses, harness, fall protection, adds another $500 to $1,500 per worker per year. And tools break. They get stolen. They get left on the job site. They walk away in someone else's truck at the end of the day. The crew owner who equips 5 workers from scratch is looking at a $15,000 to $30,000 investment before the first nail is driven. And that equipment will need to be replaced on a regular schedule. The tool tax is invisible to the client, but it is one of the most predictable costs in the business. Construction is seasonal. In most of the country, you cannot build much when the ground is frozen and it is dark by 4:30. The busy season runs from spring through fall. During those months, you need every worker you can find. You are turning down work because you do not have enough hands. You are paying overtime. You are working 60-hour weeks just to keep up. And then winter comes. The work dries up. You have to lay off your crew. Some of them collect unemployment. Some of them find other work. Some of them wait for you to call them back in the spring. And every spring you start over. You rebuild your crew from the remnants of last year's team. Some of your best workers found permanent jobs elsewhere. Some of them moved to Florida. Some of them just decided they do not want to do construction anymore. The seasonal cycle means the crew owner is constantly hiring, constantly training, and constantly losing the investment they made in their people. It is not one business. It is 2 businesses, one for each half of the year, and the winter one does not make any money. There is a moment that every crew owner dreads. The phone call in the middle of the day. A worker fell off a ladder. A hand went through a table saw. A trench collapsed. Construction has one of the highest rates of workplace injuries of any industry in the country. And when an injury happens on your crew, everything changes. The job site shuts down. OSHA investigates. Your workers' comp premiums spike. Your insurance company reviews your policy. The injured worker's lawyer calls. Even if you did everything right, even if the worker was wearing all the safety equipment, even if the accident was their own mistake, you are still liable. A single lost time injury can cost a small crew owner $50,000 to $100,000 in increased premiums, legal fees, settlement costs, and lost productivity over the next 3 to 5 years. That is the profit from an entire year of work, wiped out by one bad moment. And it happens every single day in construction. This is the part of running a construction crew that nobody talks about openly. Construction workers have one of the highest rates of substance abuse of any industry in the country. The physical toll of the work leads to chronic pain. Chronic pain leads to prescriptions. Prescriptions lead to dependency. And dependency leads to a worker who is unreliable, unsafe, and expensive to employ. The construction industry accounts for a disproportionate share of opioid-related overdose deaths in the United States. The rate of opioid misuse among construction workers is estimated to be significantly higher than the national average. And it is not just opioids. Alcohol use is pervasive. Marijuana use, even in states where it is legal, creates problems on job sites where safety-sensitive positions require clear-headed workers. The crew owner who ignores this problem is hoping it does not show up on their crew. And it will, because the statistics say it will. The question is not whether you will have a worker with a substance abuse problem, it is what you will do when you find out. So let us bring this back to where we started. You want to own a construction crew. You see a truck full of workers, a line of projects, and a pile of checks that add up to a good life. And you are not wrong. There are crew owners who make a solid living. There are crews that have been working together for decades. There are foremen who would not do anything else. But the ones who made it did not get there because they bought the right truck or the right tools. They got there because they understood that a construction crew is not a team. It is a financial puzzle with a 68% annual turnover rate, a 30 to 60% labor burden, a workers' comp system that punishes success, and a workforce that disappears on Monday mornings more often than any business school textbook will ever admit. The crew owner who survives is the one who bills enough to cover the burden, hires for reliability over skill, plans for the seasonal crash, and knows that the most important tool on the job site is not a nail gun. It is a spreadsheet. Because in the construction crew business, you do not make money swinging a hammer, you make money managing the numbers. And the numbers have never been on the side of the person holding the hammer.